Hi guys, in this lesson we are going to talk about a very great social reformer, Mr. Balshastri Jambhekar. Balshastri Jambhekar was born on 6 January 1812 and he's also known as the father of Marathi journalism for his efforts in starting journalism in Marathi language with the first newspaper in the language, the same language, that is Marathi language. And what was the name of that newspaper? The name of that newspaper was Darpan, as you can see on your screen, Bombay Darpan. Okay. And in the early days of British rule in India, this newspaper was brought in by Mr. Balshastri Jambhekar. And we will talk a little bit detailed information about this great personality. And he was born on 6 January 1812 in a place called Devgarh Phomburle Taluka. It is in Sindh-Durg district of Konkan region, and this is in Maharashtra. Okay. And if you talk more about the intricacies, he was born in 1812 in the village of Phomburle in Devgarh Taluka, that is Sindh-Durg in Konkan region of Maharashtra state, and he was talented and intelligent since childhood. Jambhekar became a great scholar and researcher in many subjects on adulthood. He was active only for a very short period, but his exceptional work left a permanent mark on India. So if you talk about the Marathi language newspaper Darpan that he established, Balshastri Jambhekar had grasped correctly the importance and power of the print media in the coming times during British rule in India. So he was a person who got to understand that how the print media plays a very important role when it comes to propagation of ideas. So he was sure that if the British was to be overthrown and freedom was to be attained, then it was essential to awaken the masses, and print media was the most useful tool in that end. And the newspaper Darpan was born out of his patriotism and social awareness. And he founded Darpan as first Marathi newspaper. He was also the editor of the newspaper during the British rule in India. This turned out to be the beginning of Marathi journalism, and Balshastri Jambhekar was only 20 years old at the time. His associates in this phase included people like Govind Kunte and Bhau Mahajan. The first issue of Darpan was published on 6 January 1832. I'll write it here. 6 January 1832, the first issue of Darpan was published. The newspaper was printed both in English and Marathi language in two separate columns. Marathi was meant for the general public and English was meant for the ruling British. It was priced at 1 rupee. Newspaper was a new idea in India at that time. Hence, there were very few subscribers in the beginning, but slowly people appreciated it and agreed with the thoughts expressed in it. And the readership and the subscribers of the newspaper grew with time. It was published for 8.5 years, and the last issue of Darpan was published in July 1840. What was the social impact of Darpan? That becomes important for us to know. He specifically dealt with the issue of widow remarriage in his newspaper. He tried to develop a scientific set of mind in the masses of uneducated India. This resulted in large-scale debate in society and finally in a movement for the support of widow remarriage. So he passionately desired that the knowledge should percolate in the society, and Darpan was one of the means to his end. He was aware that the country could only progress with the use of scientific knowledge and rational outlook towards social problems. He wanted to build a society that have a scientific outlook, not the society marred with casteism, inequality, and a lot of social issues, problems. So he wanted to eradicate or abolish those social issues. So he was one of those social activists who made continuous effort in generating useful and healthy consciousness among the common masses and attempted to educate the uneducated. His never-dying talent and endeavor left a stamp over not only the Maharashtrian public but overall India. As a distinguished social reformer and journalist, he influenced the overall India. Throughout the territory of India, people know his name. What are other contributions other than Darpan of Mr. Balshastri Jambhekar? That also becomes very important for us, and Balshastri Jambhekar understood the importance of public libraries. He founded the Bombay Native General Library. And when you talk about Mr. Balshastri Jambhekar, you have to mention two main things. One is Darpan newspaper, the second is establishment of public libraries. He founded the Bombay Native General Library. He also started Native Improvement Society, of which Student Literary and Scientific Society was an offshoot. So Student Literary and Scientific Society, okay, SLSC, you can remember by this acronym. Student Literary and Scientific Society was an offshoot of Native Improvement Society, and this Native Improvement Society was also established by whom? Mr. Balshastri Jambhekar. Intelligent people or intellectual giants, you can say, like Dadabhai Naroji and Bhau Daji Lad, drew inspiration through these institutions only. So in 1840, Mr. Jambhekar published first Marathi monthly Digdarshan. And what is the meaning of Digdarshan? Digdarshan means direction in English, right? So he edited this magazine Digdarshan for 5 years, and Digdarshan published articles on various subjects including physics, chemistry, geography, history. All these dimensions were covered in Digdarshan. So he had mastery in many languages including Marathi, Sanskrit, English, Hindi. So apart from that, he is also having a very sharp interest over Greek, Latin, French, Gujarat, Bengali. So he used to have interest in all these, plethora of languages. So he was a linguistic man. He loved languages. He was the first Indian to have published research papers in the Quarterly Journal of Asiatic Society. So that's why this name is pretty much important for us, and we can draw inspiration from him. He was the first Indian to have published research paper in Quarterly Journal of Asiatic Society. He was the first person to print Dhyaneshwari in 1845. It was known as first ever printed version. He was also well known as the first professor of Hindi in Elphinstone College in Mumbai, and he also worked as director of Kolaba Observatory. He wrote books like Niti Katha, that is stories on morality, encyclopedic history of England, English grammar, history of India, and mathematics based on zero. So these are the range of books that was written by Mr. Balshastri Jambhekar, and he was also known as the first professor of Hindi in Elphinstone College. That's what you have to remember. He was active during the years 1830 to 1846 and worked for the betterment of Maharashtra as well as the overall India. He had a very short lifespan of just 34 years, and within those time period he established his name like anything, and we are reading about it, right? So he was such a great personality. So but in those years as well, he tried to educate people and develop a scientific mindset. In those limited years of his life, he left his mark on the society reform, and a stamp of his personality as a social reformer and journalist during the period of 1832 to 1846. He left his mark on our hearts, right? And if you talk about recognition, that what were the recognition that was given to him for the contribution in the form of first Marathi newspaper and the first Marathi monthly, he is acknowledged as the father of Marathi journalism. His birthday and coincidentally the day of publication of the first issue of Darpan is 6th January and is celebrated as the Journalist Day in Maharashtra in his memory. So you have to remember that 6th January is celebrated as Journalist Day in Maharashtra to commemorate the birth of Balshastri Jambhekar. While he died in 1846, further recognition was forthcoming in 1901 when Justice Narayan Ganesh Chandwarkar, while delivering eulogy for the just died Justice M.G. Ranade, in whose place he had been appointed as Justice at Bombay High Court, noted that in terms of intellectual stature, Balshastri Jambhekar was perhaps the only one who could have matched up the intellectual level of Justice Ranade, who he said was one of the foremost Indian university graduates. So he is time and again commemorated by great personalities in India and remembered whenever there is the time be, and we all draw inspiration from this great personality. So on this note, I'm going to end this lesson, guys, and I'm sure that you like this video and you learned something from this magnanimous personality. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. Keep watching. Do not forget to like, share, subscribe and comment, and let this wisdom go viral. Thank you.